It came to the board, so, from the Kingston Lake Association. Dated May 20, and this is from Muriel Ingalls. Dear Kingston Select Board, thank you so much for your support of KLA's efforts to help with the cleanup at the Kingston State Park by supporting employees of Town's Division of Public Works. We were able to accomplish a great deal in 3 hours at the park. The equipment used to pick up and blow leaves made a huge difference in the appearance of the park. The park is a wonderful resource for our town, and we are grateful to our select board for your support of our efforts to support the park. Sincerely, Muriel Ingalls. Thank you, Muriel, for that. Tom, did you hear that? All right. Because it's addressed to us, but it's really the work that you guys did. So, well, your department. There you go.
Let me see that for Sarah.
I think she forgot her purse. She'll be back.
Oops.
I didn't want us to forget it there.
They'll be back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would it be okay if I take that for Sarah? I'm trying to set aside things that she might want for the minutes.
This?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yes, sure. Of course. Okay. That clock is wrong, by the way. It's a little slow. So we're actually at 6:58. All right. Does anyone have a quick liaison report they'd like to report out on? Okay.
I must turn my mic on.
Yes, please.
One of the things that came up at the meeting was whether or not when you guys have to do stuff with the propane and you have to dig up part of the driveway and you're going to re-top it, whether or not this was plausible and financially and everything else to make it a little wider. Because they talk about when you try and come around the corner, if people are all parked, it's kind of tough to do. And they thought, since it's digging up the roadway a little bit anyway, is there a possibility of expanding that over a little bit? So that just came up as a question, and since you're right here, you know, I don't know if it would cost too much or whatever, but it came up.
Okay.
I have a minute. The planning board also wanted to know if they could have a bulletin board in the hallway. They thought it would be nice if, because they used to have bulletin boards up here where they could post things, and they wondered if there might be a possibility of putting one downstairs so they could also post informational things for the public.
Sounds like a pretty good idea. Right near the planning board office, perhaps?
Okay.
Right near the planning board office, Ellen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else? Well,
there is something else, but
well, we're going to go back to liaison reports, so
yeah,
you can continue on once we restart that. But
it was whether or not the driveway outside could be expanded, the parking area.
The pavement to extend it.
No, it was the town hall staff had a meeting on Wednesday, and this was one of the issues brought up by the staff that work in the town hall.
Okay. So at this point, I'm going to open a public hearing, which we are required to do whenever the town wants to consider using interest from the infrastructure fund to fund infrastructure projects in town. And so I believe that this was set up, the process was set up was it in 2020, Ellen? I believe. Outlining the process, there's a chunk of the what used to be called the landfill money that has been set aside specifically for the purpose of throwing off interest, if you will, and that interest can be used to fund or help fund projects in town related to infrastructure. So, the board has actually chosen a bidder, contractor, to do the electrical upgrade work on the planes. And so the money that we would pay for that is intended to come from the infrastructure fund, assuming that at the end of the public hearing it's determined by the board that that's the appropriate thing to do. So we have chosen a bid for that work, which totals $39,614.95. The current balance of interest in the infrastructure fund, and this has been verified by the chairman of the trustee of the trust funds, John Pramberg, in an email to us dated today, June 2nd. And this is addressed to our finance officer, saying that the sum available for disbursement by the trustees for expenditure by the selectmen is $188,328.29. So if we proceed with this, we would be reducing that 188,328.29 by 39,614.95. Peter?
There's one additional number to that $39,000 we need to get a definitive answer on.
Okay.
Steve from the Highway Department is going to manufacture the backings on each electrical panel. And there was a list developed that I turned over to a local lumber company to give us a bid, and they had not gotten back to me on that. So I just need to look on that. It's some plywood, it's some pieces of AZAC decking, some building materials that have to be put on those poles for structures to hold the new panels.
How many, Peter?
All of them.
How many is that?
10? Does that include the big one, the doghouse? So 10 of them. So, and they were all in really bad shape over there. So they have to be built, so they're going to be weather resistant. We're going to use 5/8 AZAC decking. It's going to be brown, and the roofs are going to be cedar shingled to get a little aesthetics. And all it is basically an overhang, like a little small doghouse exterior panel. They're not going to be boxes. It's not going to like birdhouses over there. So,
and those are the things that you brought before the HDC to run it by them?
Absolutely, yes. And I actually have drawings. I apologize, I don't have them tonight. Yep. But I did bring it by them, and Steve actually made up a list, and we just trying to get that quote back. So,
But that's separate from the electric bid.
Correct, but my question is, where would that money be coming from as we're having this meeting on the electric panel? Is it part of the project? So that's my question.
Well, if you had an estimate of what it would be, we could do a number not to exceed X dollars.
$2,000, not to exceed.
So we would add 2,000 to this number.
Correct, not to exceed.
So it would make this 41,614.95 NTE, not to exceed that number.
And it will not exceed that. I saw the list. I don't know the exact breakdown of it, but it will not exceed $2,000.
Well, I don't know how the board feels, but I'd certainly be comfortable doing an not to exceed number.
Because we're having this meeting.
Yeah. I mean, I'd rather do it now so that we don't have to hold a separate public hearing.
Correct. That's why I brought it up. Sorry.
So that is the nut of it. Questions from the board, and then I'm going to open it up to the public since it's a public hearing. Ellen?
No, the only thing I think we should clarify, since this is an estimate, that anything under that amount of money goes back into this fund.
Yes.
Just to put that out for the public.
Yes, that's my understanding. Yes.
Okay.
No problem. Any other questions or issues from the board? All right. This is a public hearing, so I will open it up to the public at this point. All right. Seeing no public comment, we'll close the public comment part of it and bring it back to the board. Ellen?
I think we just forget this not to exceed part. We're authorizing 41,614.95, and if it's less than that, it goes back anyway. So I don't think you have to add not to exceed. Because you have to tell the trustees how much, you have to give them a number.
Okay, then let's make it a round number.
Oh, okay.
Why don't we make it 42,000? And just, and whatever's left over goes back.
Well, is it left over, or do we invoice them and they pay you? So it's not like they're giving us 42K and now we have to give money back.
Depending on how you're doing the paperwork, but yeah,
Right.
you,
Okay. All right.
We pay for it, and then we.
It's an invoice, so it's not, yeah.
sometimes we don't pay for it, we just give it right to the trustees and they pay for it.
Everyone good with a $42,000 number?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So with that, we should do this by motion.
Yeah, I move that we expend $2,000 from the infrastructure fund to install the new electrical panels in town on the plains.
Well, it's actually the complete upgrade of the electrical
System.
on the planes, including those panels, but it's also trenching and underground lines, and it's the whole deal.
Right.
Okay. So we have a motion.
Second.
Okay, second by Lori. Discussion? Call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? That's unanimous. Okay. Thank you. So we will now close the public hearing at 7:08.
Only one more comment on that. I don't know who we have to call or whatever, but I briefly touched about it last week, that there is no monitoring on that section of the plains. So I believe we could probably have Tom get a hold of the contractor and start putting a schedule together to address this job so we can get it done.
Well, that'd be great, because, I mean, if we could have electricity done there for, I mean, we've got an event coming up in early August. I mean, if it happened to be done by then, that would be terrific.
Great, yep.
Yeah.
So,
And we're sure that there isn't any of the
they were both on site, they both had all the maps, it was all dictated, there's nothing on that section of plains.
Okay, good. All right. And Tom, you're all up to speed on that. Okay. Okay, great. Ellen, let's continue with liaison reports.
Okay, hang on. I think we covered almost everything. There's, they do want information on how to deal with some of the new right-to-know laws and things, but I think I'll just be able to find some of that information and get it to everybody. I'm sorry, I'm on, and get it to everybody. The rest of it we talked about, so.
I was just suggest you refer to who they were.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. It was, there were several people who were asking about this, but the town clerk's staff, you mean that kind of thing?
No one in the audience would know that who they are. So there was a meeting on,
We had a meeting
Yes.
on the last Wednesday of the month, and it will continue to next month. You'll see it posted that the town hall will open at 9 o'clock on that day, so they have the chance to meet for an hour. We met up here, so everybody could talk with one another, not be crowded in the kitchen, and it they all talked about how crowded it is with everybody here, trying to get around that little corner, and since the driveway was going to be sort of torn up a little bit anyway, maybe this is the time to try to address it, so.
wouldn't it make sense if you go out to a road? Not even, I mean, really, I'm just saying.
I'm bringing forward
okay.
information and questions brought by the people who work here to the appropriate people to make those decisions, so.
Well, I'm making a suggestion that they that they might prefer to just go out Depot Road, and avoids the whole problem to begin with.
Well, part of it too is not just that, but it's walking from when they have to park, if there's a meeting and stuff, trying to walk from their car to here, and someone who isn't going out Depot Road, and how close they come to people who are trying to walk into the building. Not just them, but, you know, they're here to see those kind of things happen. So that was the other issue they brought up, people walking and trying to get to the building when it's congested, so. You'll figure it out, or, so. That's it, I think, for me.
Couple questions. So if you find out about right to know, are you gonna like give a little brief to everybody?
We will, it will be, it's something they brought up because it's something new that's occurring, so.
Sure.
And there are some other things that are going on in the legislature on who can ask for certain information and things, and we'll update everybody, and then we'll let everybody know.
Okay.
That would, if I could interrupt, that would be a good topic for a department head meeting,
Yep,
because then everybody could be on the loop in that one there.
I agree.
And NHMA has some of that stuff?
NHMA and Primex, because I'm also getting them links, they wanted more information on how to deal with angry people who come to the windows and things, and communication, and I told them that that definitely was out there, because I had watched them, so I would send the links to all of those people so they could get trained on that kind of stuff, so.
I would hazard a guess that if we plan on expanding this parking lot, then that's gonna be a lot of discussion and not just a decision made by people that work here, right? Because that's into the Grace Daily property and all kinds of stuff.
So that's why they didn't make the decision.
Yeah.
They asked me to bring the possibility
understood.
forward so people could discuss it and work it out. Yeah.
Ellen, you all set? All right, Peter? Ellie?
Nope, I'm all set.
I don't have much. I do have and I'm throwing this into liaison, but Susan, have we heard anything back from the engineering company that is going to take a look at the cupola and provide us an estimate so we can get into the CIP?
I have not. He did respond to me and say he was going to get in touch with some of his subcontractors, but then I haven't gotten anything further.
Could you please reach back out?
Yep.
Because our CIP is due, entries are due at the end of this month. And I'd love to have at least a ballpark number to put in there. I mean, it's not a firm number, but I'd like to have something in there,
Yeah.
just as a placeholder number.
Did you want to say anything about Saturday?
I could. There was a celebration of the 300th anniversary of the Plains Cemetery on Saturday. It was really well done. You know, the planning and the work done by the organizers, and primarily Ernie Landry and Melissa Mannon, but with a lot of support from all kinds of other people, boards, committees, our three main departments, highway, police, and fire, all did an incredible amount of logistical work for it, and because of that, it went off very well. And you know, looking at the forecast for the day, I mean, nobody expected that it was going to be any kind of sun or lack of rain. And boy, I'll tell you, the window of time for the event, it's like somebody upstairs said, "Okay, well, we'll let them have that."
Glenn at the cemetery.
Well, there you go. That's true. So it went off without rain, and really nice event. And so thank you to everyone involved in it and who participated and all the work that they did, and it was well done.
Good deal.
Yeah. Lori?
The only thing I have is if you go to the museum in the next couple weeks or so, you need to use the back entrance. They removed the door, I don't know, within a few days, and there's just a piece of plywood up there. I mean, they could use it, but you know, egress and entrances through the back door. And so they're a couple, 3 weeks, probably up to 5 to get it fixed.
Yep.
And the stairs, we're hoping to get something maybe this week, right? Do you think the railings? I brought it up, sorry. I know.
I heard a really big sigh from the audience.
Well, I thought there was gonna be an email returned.
There was.
Did we hear back from that email?
Have we heard anything back?
Got no response.
So that's where we kinda left it.
Tom looks like he's dying to share
He's
something.
dying to share something.
Don't start speaking until you sit down and turn the mic on. Okay.
Okay, the only thing I've heard back from is Ryan, at the end of the week, reached out. I was wrong. I thought we had one payment, which was about $12,000, which encompasses the railings. Well, we missed March payment after the mason was done, so we owed them basically 24. So that was at the, no, was it the end of March, beginning? I don't know what month it was. The last month. Yeah, the month they finished the granite up. So long story short, I looked at it, I said, well, okay. That was after the letter. No response pertaining to the email you sent them. So it may be in your signing documents there. I agree they should get paid that 12. They still owe the 12 for the railing. But I called, I'm sorry, I will call Ryan, and are we putting them in by the 14th? Because that was the date. We gave them to the, was it the 13th or 14th? 13th. Friday the 13th. That's the date. And I thought he'd be kind enough to say, yeah, they'll be. But there was no response from that. I think you've all read the email. And it just shows you, well, in my opinion, we probably won't hire them again. I would hope not, but that's just my opinion.
Let's get through this process and finish it up before we make any decisions like that.
Well, it's just unprofessional. I mean, it's just, I think that is not this week, it's the following week.
Right.
So I won't be here next Monday night, but I will.
Neither will we. We don't have a meeting next Monday night.
Our next meeting is the
Why not?
6th. We meet every other week.
Yeah, summertime. Summertime. Okay.
Summertime.
So I will get an answer from, I'll call him directly, Ryan, and see what his, I just felt like the ball was in their court. They haven't returned serve, you know, and.
So it's your understanding, it was mine, that Marissa was going to pay the older bill?
The old
and
bill,
still
yes.
retain the
Oh, yeah.
most recent?
Yeah.
Until it's in? All right.
And if we play our cards right, when we come to our next meeting here at the town hall, we can use the front stairs.
Oh my gosh.
That will be the 16th.
Yeah.
That's 2 days
So
after.
I will reach out to Ryan, I'll just call him directly and what's the decision, and I'll verbally let you know and you can.
Thank you.
Tell him.
Thanks, Tom.
I have another idea, but we won't even go there.
Maybe you and I should talk.
Nothing else? I should mention that Lori and I were at the most recent meeting of the Lake Watershed Plan committee meeting, and they're moving along with the getting a pre-application into DES for a grant to help get the work done on the improving the area at Greenwood Pond. And one of the pieces that they're doing now is reaching out to the 3 entities that share lakefront right there, the church, the Masons Lodge, and the Children's Center, and to get letters of support and letters of commitment to assist and to go along with that project. And they've gotten commitments from the church and the Children's Center, and they just got a response back from the Gideon Lodge, which sounded very positive, but they needed to get a commitment from their full membership at a meeting, which was going to happen fairly soon. So that's looking good and moving forward. Okay. All right. Anything else for liaisons? No. Old business. The compensation study that we received bids for. Lori has done some additional work reviewing them, has put a spreadsheet together for us, and would you like to speak to it? And I'm
Sure.
assuming you're going to get to the point where you will feel like you're making a recommendation?
Yeah, so I did 4. We received 6, but 2 of them were really high, so I didn't bother doing that. So as you can see, that the companies are across the top. I looked at MRI, PayPoint, McGrath, and Evergreen Solutions, and then down the left-hand column, I looked at the total cost, their approach, their questionnaire, that benefit analysis, fiscal impact, if we went outside the scope, what that would cost. Okay. If they're going to look at what we have for compensation and update that, hours by consultants, the timeline, if they provide ongoing support training, and if they have New Hampshire experience, and then other if something really jumped out at me. So I kind of put it in order of least expensive to most expensive. MRI came in under our $20,000 budget. They're local to New Hampshire. They listed 3 other towns. They have a proprietary classification system in conjunction with another company. I mean, there's you can read this, so I'm not going to go ahead and read everything on this. I will call out a couple of different things. For PayPoint, all of them had a very standard approach, right? And I listed what that meant at the bottom. Their standard approaches, they're all doing a needs assessment, they look at our philosophy, they look at what we have in place, so it's just a very standard approach. And they all provide the same, they say they all provide support after, like they'll teach you how to use the tools and stuff like that. So those are very apples to apples. 2 of them had a point factor rating system, MRI and PayPoint. In PayPoint's RFP, they provided an example of their questionnaire, and the other ones didn't, but I would expect I would hope that it's just as intense. It's a lot of work. Just reading these proposals, it's going to take a lot of work on all of our employees' time to fill this out, to accurately gauge their job and their job descriptions. So we need to know that going in. For fiscal impact, they all said, they're going to tell us clearly what the cost is and kind of a phased approach, but McGrath also said they provide 3 costing iterations to phase it in, right? Because you can't really do it all at the same time. They all have a cost if we go outside the scope, but McGrath did not list theirs. They did mention it. Some of them listed the hours, some of them listed percentage by the people who were working, some of them didn't list it. For the timeline, we requested 3 months. MRI said 3 to 4, PayPoint said 12 weeks, McGrath said 4 months, and Evergreen said 12 to 13 weeks. So some are a little out. For ongoing support or training, PayPoint said other than the standard training, they have a support plan option, but they didn't talk about a cost. And then Evergreen Solutions also has this other whole software package that they mention quite a bit, but they you'd have to buy that separately. PayPoint actually has, in their RFP, they listed the most towns in New Hampshire. McGrath doesn't have any New Hampshire or New England experience listed at all. And just other things of note, both Evergreen and PayPoint provided a really good final report of what we could expect, which was nice to see. And McGrath listed specifically, which what I thought was good, was that they have EMS and law enforcement experience on staff, so that kind of could speak to police and fire. Our RFP was not low cost technically acceptable, so we don't have to go with low cost, the lowest cost. We did budget for 20K. My personal, reading these, I would go with PayPoint, but that's just me.
And where would you propose getting the extra money?
I don't know, that's why we'd have to look at that for the budget. That was one of the reasons why I'd wanted to see a budget tonight too. So for travel, clearly the New Hampshire, you know, there's no overnight stays. For PayPoint, they listed 2 to 3 on-site visits. McGrath has 4 on-site visits in there. And then Evergreen said 2 on-site visits. Because the wording in our RFP was not definitive for on-site visits. It was really kind of squishy language, so they could be virtual.
But the question was asked by one of them, and I put it in the Q&A, posted that they
were.
had to be.
Oh, I see.
They had to come in.
Okay. Well, they all said they would, but I'm just saying the initial RFP was a little squishy with that. I don't know where we would get the additional $8,500.
So, I mean, we should open this up for discussion. I'm curious if, do you think that going with PayPoint versus the one of them that happens to fall within our budget, we'd be getting a different or better product?
PayPoint did a really specifically called out challenges on what they could expect. None of the other RFPs did that. I think MRI's solution is very, it's a very standard, no thought to it because they know New Hampshire. That was the impression I got from reading theirs. I don't think it would be a bad product. Just in reading it, I got the impression that they would, because they're not familiar with the way towns are here, and they had a very data-driven approach and called out very specific things in their RFP, we would get a more tailored solution.
With PayPoint.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Thoughts from the board? In no particular order, just if you feel like saying something or asking something, go right ahead.
I kind of like the MRI. First of all, we've done business with them, and they're from New Hampshire. I know they're within the budget, and I'm definitely not the person that always goes with the cheapest, because you could always run into other expenditures that they weren't expecting. But they got like a $9,000 window. That's a lot of money. So again, not knowing exactly what they're achieving, it seems like they're all trying to go the same way. And again, we have a relationship with MRI. That's just my own thought.
I guess that was sort of why I was asking the question of, you know, do we have enough of a reason to go to a higher priced one? And unless I can, for my own vote anyway, see that we'd be getting a much better product by spending an extra $9,000, then I'd be hard pressed not to go with the MRI bid.
One thing that they all talked about was doing a benefit analysis, and the one that actually had a...
When you say benefit, you mean employee benefits?
Yeah, because they all talk about, you know,
Right.
your compensation shouldn't be looked at just as salary, right? It should be looked at the whole package.
Well, that's how our, I believe that's how our bid was
Right,
put out.
and they all said they're gonna do it. The only one who actually provided examples of what that would look like to us is Evergreen. So they said, this is what we would provide to you when we say a benefit analysis, right, on what they're looking at. And so that was, it's really nice to see the visuals when you're doing stuff like that. So they all said, yeah, they're all gonna do it, but they provided an example.
I mean, even though PayPoint is out of state and they are more expensive, I mean, they apparently do have, you know, a substantial amount of New Hampshire experience, which is good. But
Well, it's still $8,500 more, regardless how you look at it. And the towns that they use are all much larger than us, whereas the MRI were smaller communities.
I think MRI has done more than just the 3 that they put on here, but that's what they gave us, and maybe they gave us those because they're more comparable to us in size.
Yeah.
Actually, because Barrington is very close to us in many respects. I know that, I'm pretty sure their public works or highway department is very similar to ours. They're similar in size for population. So that could be why we got that one. Newmarket certainly is sort of in that neighborhood of us, and Rye as well, and they're all kind of local to us. So. Alan, do you have any words?
Yeah, just I think the issue is the budget, and that we right now are we're thinking of using any funds that we've found so far for personnel issues. And so I don't think we can assume that we have an extra $8,000 that we won't be using for a different priority for us. Because I myself also like PayPoint, but I can't in my mind come up with the extra $8,000.
Right.
I just haven't been able to think where it would come from at this point in the year. And we're seeing that there are some lines that are already getting too close to being overexpended that may become an issue as we get closer to the end of the year. So spending an extra $8,000 and assuming, or $9,000 and assuming that we're gonna find it, makes me a little nervous. I liked PayPoint's presentation, but I just can't really find the money.
If I'm not mistaken as well either, when I look at all these companies, I kind of feel like they're guidelines. They're not gonna tell us what we're gonna do. We're gonna look at what their report is, we're gonna absorb it, then we'll make some decisions. I don't think any one of these amount of much you pay, or we're gonna pay them, that's gonna be our final decision. We're gonna kind of look at their reports coming back, and we're gonna make that decision.
So again, without having a contingency fund, I think we are limited to money being going to be the deciding factor, because I agree, I liked PayPoint's presentation, but I think I'd have to go with MRI because of the budget constraints.
Okay, I understand, but do you feel that you're settling?
No, I mean, you know, everybody sees a preference of something, but it doesn't mean that your secondary choice is going to be a bad choice. It's just, it may not be, you know, and it may just be that they write a better presentation than MRI does. So I think we're going to get the information we need from MRI.
Okay.
So I'm fine with that. I just, you know.
Because if the discussion was that you know, we really don't think we're going to get what we need from MRI, and we really want to go with PayPoint, then maybe there's a bigger discussion about, you know, digging into the budget and seeing if there is, if that's the right, you know, if going with another vendor at a higher price is the right thing to do, then I think we would need to be doing a deeper dive and seeing if there is money available.
No, when we were talking about things as a board, we were talking about, you know, maybe a local company is going to understand how New Hampshire works better than somebody from Minnesota. So, I mean, you had brought that up.
Right.
If you're going to speak, please put your mic on.
She just
Just
nodded.
agree, I just said right.
Well, it looked like you might have been ready to say something else.
No, but she was right. I was the one that brought up the fact that the Plymouth company would most likely be more like New Hampshire, understand New Hampshire. And also, they're gonna do a lot of the same things that the wage matrix did, or they may have access to other reports that we didn't have access to. And so they're gonna be pretty much doing the same things remotely and getting that information, regardless of which of the vendors pokes through.
Yeah. Well, I mean, any of these vendors have experience in doing this
Correct,
thing, and I mean, you know, it's a focused effort on their part. It's you know, they have the they have the process already established, and it's what they do. So, you know, we tried to do it internally,
Right.
and it's a hard job to do, and so.
I do not have any objections to MRA. So staying within our budget and getting this done, quite honestly.
Okay.
Um,
Peter, you've already expressed you'd be comfortable with MRI?
Yes.
I mean, I'll vote how I need to vote, so.
Sure, of
yeah.
course.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to take a motion, but I want to make sure, well, let's do the motion. If we need more discussion, we'll do it under more discussion.
I move that we award the contract for the compensation analysis to.
I try to watch her, Peter, but sometimes I miss it, so thank you.
He can see the microphone more clearly. I move that we award the compensation package contract to MRI of Plymouth, New Hampshire for the sum of $19,500 as budgeted.
Second.
Motion by Ellie, second by Ellen. Now further discussion. Do you have any last pitch or words? Or?
Nope.
Then I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? One opposed. Abstentions? So the vote is 4 in favor, 1 opposed, and no abstentions. So the motion carries, and so Susan will need to get in touch with them right away, because we need to get this underway, because the objective here is to get this information so that, you know, when we're right at the end.
Right. So we can get done.
We want it for budgeting season, and we want it for, you know, that time. All right. You have something in your packets now. It's a memo from Susan with an attachment, and it's further information regarding the discussion that we started, I believe, at the last meeting, and I think it was Ellen, you brought this up, right? Or was it you, Susan?
No, it came up because of my problem with my email, and it was a
right.
suggestion, so you
Right.
asked me to get more information, which I did.
Right, so this is the issue of right now, we use a .org for our domain, and it's been suggested that we probably should do a .gov. Susan, I'm just going to read your memo here to us. It's dated June 2nd, and it's addressed to this board. As requested, I spoke with Block 5 support to find out what moving the town from .org domain to a .gov domain would entail in time and cost. The good news, there is no cost to the town. Jason explained that New Hampshire has a program for this, see attached, and there's a page to go along with this, to offer it for free. But he said after working in other towns with the company they are using, Block 5 prefers to handle it themselves, so they will do it for free also. The process itself can be time-consuming because each employee needs to be switched individually, but it is not difficult. The first step will be to apply for the domain, for which someone will need to supply a license and social security number. 2 people will need to verify we are applying. Then it can take 6 weeks to be approved. Once approved, they will go to live with the website, then go through all the individual emails. They will need a town contact to be available through the process, and that can be me, meaning Susan, if you agree, if we agree, the board, as my summer schedule is going to be easier than normal. And we'll say that thanks to Sarah here, helping with the minutes. Obtaining a .gov domain is a tightly controlled process, and it makes hacking much harder to do. I guess that's the reason for wanting to switch, right? Because
Yes.
more security and safety. An additional benefit to doing this is for the benefit of the community. New Hampshire would like all government entities to switch over to be consistent and boost customer confidence. People can then be aware that emails coming from other than a .gov address are not legitimate. And this is from Susan. So, Susan, do you have any other words for us other than what's in your memo?
No, that about covered it. Like I said, I'm willing to be the point person. I think that was the problem before. Somebody has to have the time to field the phone calls. And I'm willing to do that if you want me to. But I think it is a good thing to do.
So it said in here about a website. What are they talking about? Once approved, they will, our KingstonNH.org is going to be a .gov website.
Correct. They start there. That starts the process, and then
Civic
they branch
Plus
out.
knows that?
Well,
because
they
they're
will.
the host, they host that, so they must be working.
They
with
will.
that.
I didn't get into the weeds with that, but yes, that's where they would start, because that's the basis for everything else, basically.
Is it unusual to require a license and
See, that's my
social security number? Because we have an employer ID number, why wouldn't we use that number?
Right, and maybe they can, that's what he told me. I think that's just part of that security, make sure, somebody's information is being, guaranteeing the town, but definitely could ask about that, because that's, I don't know if I'd want to do that particularly.
I wouldn't.
But,
No.
So that was my question, because
that information, don't fool yourself.
Well, there's no question about, but Big Brother came here in 1984, so let's,
because my question was, I would like Block 5 to do it, but does the other one need someone's license and social security number? Or is this
That I
just
don't
Block
know.
5's deal?
yeah, I only spoke to Block 5.
Well,
That's
because
only one
again,
person, right?
I'm with Ellie, that
Just
we
to
have an
apply for
employer
the-
ID number and stuff.
They need a person,
Yes,
they need a person to apply for the domain.
and then 2 people to verify.
Okay. I'll be the sacrificial lamb if we need to. I'm
Well,
okay
as long
with
as we
that.
have someone who's willing to do it, that's great.
There we go.
I looked up too about why you would do
sure,
this.
right?
I'm absolutely positive.
And I think we should do it, because I agree that it makes everything official, and it can't be hacked.
Exactly.
Or everything, I guess,
Well,
eventually. But I mean,
we'll keep the hacking down to a dull
yeah,
law.
so I think we should do it.
Yeah.
Peter?
I agree.
Ellie?
Yep.
I'm a yes also. We want to do it by vote, I think, but, so I guess the motion would be to authorize Susan to start this process of converting us from a .org entity to a .gov.
We're growing up.
We are.
So moved.
Motion by Ellie,
Second,
second by Ellen. Any further discussion? And this is the understanding that it's no cost to us other than the effort that we need to put forth for it. Okay.
I might add that summertime is probably a good time to make this transition.
Yeah, yep. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? So that's unanimous. Sarah?
I'm also good with Susan being the contact.
Yes.
I know that was-
Well, that
Yeah.
kind of goes.
And Lori providing her personal information.
Yeah, I wrote that, I wrote that down. That down.
But you are correct, they already know us, all of us. I said 1984, that was the year.
Please, I was, in uniform for 20 years, I got my information. I have a technical question, and maybe it's just me, but Susan changed her email address.
Yes.
I cannot use it, it's kicking it back.
You have to go into your contacts, and you have to make another contact for Susan. And then when you go to put her name in, instead of just starting to write in the S, you have to go to your contacts and pick the right one and put it in.
Is that what you had to do, Glenn?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you kidding me?
I was
No.
confused because some people seem to be fine and others
I
not.
tried, and it was reverting back to, because, admin and whatever would revert back to Susan. It took me, I don't even know how many emails to
But you
try
could
to
no,
send.
I'm with
respond
you
if
on
I
that.
sent one.
Yes, yeah, I could
Okay.
respond to what, but, so every subject email is gonna say test from me now, because I'm gonna keep replying.
My
from
phone came very close to being pitched out a window.
Okay, all right, fair enough, it wasn't just me,
I
okay.
can call and see if there's anything they can do about it, but it,
I think we should be able to remove the original one, but I haven't figured out how to do that yet.
yeah.
You absolutely should be able to, but, okay, that's right, okay, so as long as it wasn't just me, I'll.
No, it
okay,
wasn't.
All right.
Okay, so we're all set on that? All right, next item is a special event license request from the Draft House. And this is for outdoor music. There's a copy of the request in your packet, so you have that. They're requesting 6 dates. Indication is that it will be one performer, acoustic, with 1 to 2 small speakers. So it's not just acoustic, but pointed away from the lake. And this is at 22 Main Street, if folks are not familiar with it. And I don't see any documentation indicating that it's been signed off on by anybody else, any of our other departments. Do we request?
No, this is a special event.
Okay, so we
The
don't
only time it
request
goes
that.
to that level is if they're gonna ask for a security plan and a fire plan, and, this is not that big.
It's 5 to 7 p.m.
Yeah, right, 5 to 7 p.m.
I have to say, I'm glad about the hours and the acoustics, but I think that I'm more than happy to agree with the June 21st, because the June 7th is so close, and see how it goes. I'm not inclined to grant somebody an automatic 6 events if we're gonna get a lot of feedback from the area residents, so.
I don't think we can, because we set a precedent, town,
well,
so
I
we have to
wasn't
treat
sure.
everybody the same.
Yep,
Yeah,
so-
so it'd be 2 days they could have, and then we can revisit it for the other 4.
By the same token, this venue has had outdoor acoustic music for the last few years, under this current ownership, not as it was before. So,
But we've also had complaints along Kingston Lake from the music echoing across the lakes from that same venue.
not from that venue.
Yes, we have. Kingston Lake, yes.
Yeah,
Yes, we have.
I don't recall any.
We most certainly have.
But I would also, the only other thing I would recommend is that if they want to do this annually, that they should update their site plan.
Correct. Exactly, yep.
Great, because that's what we're asking other establishments to do.
That's correct.
Yes.
But still, I would approve all 6, but that's my opinion.
Someone prepared to make a motion?
Well, I'll move that we approve the special event request by the Draft House for acoustic music on 6/7, 6/21, 7/12, 7/26, 8/9, and 8/23.
Is there a second? I'll second it. All right. Further discussion?
Do we want to include in there, or we don't want to make it contingent upon
No, because we should,
exploring for updating a site plan? Because they do this every year as well.
yeah, they do it every year. By the same token, I think they should probably try to do it.
Right, okay.
I'm gonna speak up and say we're opening ourselves to a legal liability. You can't, you're being prejudiced. You're not letting one person do the same thing because you're telling them that we're not doing 6 of them because they need a site plan review, but now you're letting another restaurant do it. Then we're gonna have Rick's come in, then we're gonna have Carriagetown come in, then we're gonna have every other place we have in town, they're gonna come in. We gotta be consistent here, how we're treating these applicants, because it's gonna come back to us.
A special event, and
That's
again,
exactly what it is.
a special event, in my mind, is an event. It's one thing.
Correct.
This, again,
Site plan.
exactly.
I agree with you.
This is part of their business plan.
Correct.
And you know, that's great, that's a good thing, that's good for them. But as a regular part of their business, it should be part of their site.
And we've told them this before, because they've come in each year to request multiple dates, and we've told them this. It's all about the site plan.
And we've told others the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just don't.
What did we approve for Saddle Up? 2 dates, right?
2 dates. And then requested that they went to planning.
Yep.
And requested.
Yep.
This, and that's gonna show that we're trying to work in good favor. I own a business. I'm all about making money. All right, but, and it's hard to vote these people down that are trying to make a living in the economy we have today in the town, because I personally like music.
Yep.
But you have to treat the people the same.
I
Bottom
agree
line.
100%.
That's it.
Okay, so, the motion on the table is actually to approve this as it's been submitted to us.
To what? What would you suggest? Yes, I'll admit to the 2 dates in June and ask that they update their site plan review for subsequent dates.
And could we reach out to the owners and explain to them that we would recommend they go to the planning board to start the process for a site plan amendment so we can continue this?
Or
They
at
can
least-
have it there.
At least see Glenn Greenwood.
Yeah, correct, so please start the process. We're trying to work with you, but you,
Correct.
we gotta get this
Because
going forward.
at this point, the planning board has denied them this activity.
No.
Has denied Draft House?
They denied this before.
I
They
believe
came,
so.
yeah, they came in and asked to be able to have outside music, and the planning board denied it and said you have to go to.
How long ago was that? Because this was approved, the last couple years, we've approved Draft House.
You may have approved them for special events permit,
Right.
which is what the planning board told them to do when it
Okay.
was denied.
Okay.
So I get to send it back to the planning board if you want to. But in the meantime, right now, they don't have approval on their site plan to do this.
So that's what we're saying,
Yeah,
is they
no, I
should
get
go
it.
back and start
Yep.
that process.
Yep.
Right.
Would you want that as a condition on the permit? Because I print up another permit for these.
Did you do a condition on the other one?
Yes.
Then yes.
I think whatever wording you used on the first one, you should use on this one for consistency.
Until we get these on the site plans, I mean, the businesses are clearly, you know, they're trying to do whatever they need to do to get their activities. Unfortunately, if they're not getting it through the normal planning board process as part of their site plan, I view it as doing an end run and using a special event permit and through this board, and I don't think that's the right thing to do. So, anyway, so you've amended your motion.
For June 7th and 21st, to approve the special event permit for those 2 dates and ask that they go to the planning board to have a site plan update for the additional dates requested. So that they, if they want to have 6 outdoor acoustical events every summer, they should be able to add 6 outdoor acoustical events from 5 to 7 on their site plan. We're going to follow that same process, and that's what they need to do. And I'm assuming that Glenn Greenwood, who's our planner, will be able to help them facilitate it. I don't think it's a cumbersome process. I don't know for sure. I'm not as familiar with
It doesn't have to be, because it's an activity, it's not a physical,
Yeah, there's no
there's no
change
building
in
to
the-
be put
right.
up, or,
They don't need special officers, they don't need more parking, they have it there anyways. There's nothing else that needs to be done for them to have the event.
we haven't done the vote yet. But that's the motion.
And that's what we did on the previous one, was 2 dates.
Yeah, because
With-
they were coming up.
With the understanding that they would then go to
Sure,
planning board
yep.
to get the site plan updated or amended, and presumably then they would be able to get the additional dates through the site plan. They wouldn't need to come back here. All right.
Okay.
Any further questions, discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? For consistency, I'm going to be opposed. I was opposed to the other one because I think that, again, this has been, it's been around the horn already, and they should have an amended site plan by now, and they don't, so.
Yeah, I have to say, I would have only voted for one, but we voted for 2 for the other, so that's why I agreed with the
Understood.
2.
And I voted no on that one, so I'm just being consistent. So the motion carries, 4 in favor, 1 opposed, and no abstentions. All right, also in your packet is, it's an invoice, but there's also a letter from Muriel Ingalls, president of the Kingston Lake Association, dated May 27th of 2025. It's regarding a $2,500 lake host grant payment. And the memo from Muriel reads, please find attached the invoice, which is on the back side of the sheet, from the New Hampshire Lakes Association for $2,500 towards our matching grant for the 2025 Lake Host Program. KLA, Kingston Lake Association, has been awarded this grant since 2007. We are grateful for the support from the Select Board, the Budget Committee, the Kingston Conservation Commission, and the voters in the town of Kingston. The Lake Host Program is a courtesy boat inspection at both town and state ramps by paid and volunteer lake hosts. We are working to keep the lake free of exotic weeds. In 2024, lake hosts inspected 2,649 boats at the town and state ramps. We have been awarded $3,300 through the grant we submitted to New Hampshire Lakes. Our match to the grant is $2,500. We would appreciate your attention to this invoice in a timely manner. Our lake hosts will be on duty on weekends in June and beginning July 1 through September 1 during the week. Thank you for your attention to this matter, and it's signed by Muriel. So we have an invoice for $2,500 as our match for the lake host services. Do we have this in the budget? Okay. I'm looking at our budget committee chair to make sure that we get that answer. Yep, Peter?
Just curious, and I apologize that I don't know the answer to this, but the Kingston Lake Association, is that a private entity or is that a division of the town of Kingston?
It's their own nonprofit,
their
like
own.
the Country Pond.
So basically Kingston's giving them a donation? That's what I'm asking.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
For $2,500?
$2,500 for boat attendant, and it has been for the last year.
Oh.
On whose budget line?
All right, take your time, settle down.
Under the Conservation Commission, there is a line item that says boat attendant for $2,500, and it has been for the last 5 years.
Okay,
Does that answer?
under conservation.
Under conservation, not
conservation.
the Kingston Lake Association.
Right,
Correct.
Thank you.
Good?
Yes.
okay, thank you, Stacy. May I have a motion to authorize the signing of this invoice?
So moved.
Motion by Ellie, second by Peter. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Ellen, did you vote? Okay, so that's unanimous. Thank you. Okay. Under board business, we have a management representation letter for the 2023 audit, which I believe we still do not have. Is that right? Or do we have a draft?
We won't get it until we sign this, right? Is that right? Yes. I'm holding it hostage.
Okay,
We have a draft.
so we have a draft.
A draft of the audit.
Yep, yep. So this is the management representation letter. It's very long. I'm certainly not going to take the time to read this out here, but
It needs to be amended
how so?
to get my name out of it,
Why?
because I didn't do any of the things they say I did, because I wasn't a member of the board at the time.
They were under the impression that Ellen was going to be one of the signers, so they inserted her name in the middle where it would have been Paula, and somebody else's name has to go there, so.
What number are we talking about?
It's page 2, number 24, where I said I made all management decisions and performed all management functions, assigned a competent individual to oversee the services, evaluated the adequacy of the services performed, and evaluated and accepted responsibility for the results of the service performed, and established and maintained internal controls, including monitoring ongoing activities. Since I wasn't a selectman at the time, I think it's inaccurate to put my name in this.
So basically, you need to decide what two people are going to sign it, and one of those people would be inserted in that paragraph, is how I understood it.
So
from
what
the
is the
auditor.
signature
There are two
signifying? Is it receipt?
No.
Or is it
It's,
that?
we're confirming we've done all this. This is our letter to the auditors to say that we have done this. We confirm to the best of our knowledge that all these things were done accurately, and we're confirming that.
Well,
And I'm just saying, I wasn't a member of the board at the time, so I
correct,
can't
and
do
no
it.
matter who from the board was to sign it, you, in all good faith, we assumed that these things were done accurately. I mean, we almost need a disclaimer on there.
Yeah, we definitely need a disclaimer.
So it's all, we've fulfilled, we acknowledge, we've reviewed, and then when I read this, it's like, oh no. That name comes out. I mean, again.
No, we get it. You weren't here. You couldn't have.
So I can't do that.
I mean, we could do the board chair and vice chair, but you still need a disclaimer, because we're not experts in any kind of oversight in this department, to be quite honest with you. And it's also 2 years later, so it's hard to know how we might have even possibly implemented and updated and executed any changes or significant improvements and procedures from a 2-year-old audit. So we need some help here as to how to sign this.
Would one, if there are two signatures needed, would one of them be the finance officer?
It says on the front,
Yeah,
the CFO and the CEO. In absence, it would be the town manager, administrator, or the chairman of the board, and the finance director, or the treasurer. So it would be the finance officer and the chairman of the board is what they're saying essentially. Well, I understand that, but that's what the front says, so then we need to have some disclaimer or some discussion.
Something's got to be designated in that, because she's no longer an employee, so she can't.
has anyone asked the treasurer?
The treasurer technically was the deputy treasurer.
She shouldn't sign it either.
She was deputy, right?
At the time, she was the deputy. I'm sorry. She was the deputy treasurer at the time, so she was an officer
So,
at the time.
I guess I don't understand, what's our biggest concern of somebody putting their name to this?
I'm not putting my name to it because I wasn't a member of the board at the time. so-
Ellen, I
Yeah, we get
understand
that,
that,
we
but
get
what's in the report Because I put my name to stuff just because I wasn't a board member, where we're board members now.
This is asking that if I sign this, that I can say I was involved in doing all this stuff. I wasn't. I wasn't a selectman at the time.
No, Ellen.
No, I'm just telling Lori why.
But what Lori's asking, you're right, but we need that disclaimer. I would sign it too, on behalf of the board.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that, but I want a disclaimer in there that, to the best of our abilities, these things were done accurately and so forth. But we don't really know because we were not involved in the day-to-day operations.
And we haven't seen the final audit to know what the actual.
And the line does say, we confirm that to the best of our knowledge and belief.
Right. That's
having made such inquiries as we've considered necessary for the purpose of appropriately informing ourselves as of May 28, 2025.
Right.
So it is to the best of your knowledge.
Right. And we can't go forward unless we have the sign, but you can't go back to a former employee to sign it. That's not going to work.
Nor can you go back to former chairman of the board to sign.
All right, so
I'll volunteer to sign
I'm
it.
going to suggest that we do, as you suggested, the chair and vice chair will sign it.
Okay. I think that's a reasonable
With
thing.
a disclaimer.
An additional disclaimer?
They said it's standard when, if the finance person is not any longer with the town, that they would put in some sort of statement or disclaimer to that effect.
Okay, that's what we want.
So,
Okay, so before we sign it, I'd like to see that disclaimer.
Okay, I'm with you in that.
they're gonna be here tomorrow, we might be able to ask some questions.
Yeah.
So Susan, if you can get that, and then once we've had a chance to look at that, we can
Yep, be happy to.
do that, okay?
So definitely, the two of you are gonna plan to sign, but you need that statement first. Is that correct?
Yes. Okay, Ellen, did you want to discuss the job description? Or do you want to?
Sure.
Is that something for a later discussion?
Well, you all wanted to post it by tomorrow,
Yes, I know.
so,
Well, I didn't mean,
yeah, you can, it doesn't matter to me.
I don't think we need a later discussion. I think we just review this.
okay.
Yeah, I think it looks great.
Yeah.
All right, so Ellen has done a great job in putting together a description for a part-time human resources administrator, which could be filled by an individual person, or it could be by a firm that provides services. So it is written that way. I mean, I read this. I thought it was very good. I didn't have any issues with it.
Well, you suggested up to 40 hours a month.
Oh, I did say that.
When we
didn't
saw each
I
other in
did.
the hall.
On the first page, the second paragraph says, this part-time position is offered at 40 hours, and I mentioned to Ellen that, that we would say up to, so that we're not obligating a full 40 hours if we don't need to, because it is going to be paid on an hourly basis, so remove the word at and replace it with up to, if that's okay with folks.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Ellen. After talking to you,
No problem.
it left my mind completely. Any other comments or questions from folks?
The only question I had that the board should have an idea of in case it's asked is if we're asked, like say a company wants to do it and they just want to know if they have to come to the town hall. And if someone else wants to know if they can basically, maybe they could do some of it, at home or virtually. I don't know what the answer is. I didn't write any of that in here, and I didn't know if the board had any specifics about that or thoughts to it, or, because I think we might be asked that question, and I don't know what the answer is.
I think a virtual solution is absolutely viable. There'll be times when you'd have to do face-to-face, but I don't know why it wouldn't be able to be done from home or another location. I mean, that we kind of talked about it briefly, though. If if that's the case, right, then we have to make sure that through Block 5, whoever it is has the right setup to be able to access the server and all of that. Yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't know, we have the answer, so we know, but I didn't know if anyone needed it written in this.
Right. But, you know, the question is too, if when the person is doing the job, where are they going to sit in this town hall? Where's the space designated for an HR person?
The only thing I could think of is, since welfare is not there every day or not there all day, that could be an office that could be utilized by HR.
Okay.
That was just a thought I had, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the only one that makes sense.
And physically, it's close to the finance officer, where there's a lot of interaction that's going to need to be had.
Yeah.
That too.
So that was just my thought, if they have to meet with somebody or whatever, work it out with welfare to schedule, and then they could use that office.
And I just have a quick question, it just stuck out at me as kind of odd. For requirements, why strong MS Excel skills for an HR person?
Because it was one of the things that I saw other towns had.
Okay. I would just put that as like Microsoft Office products.
That's fine.
And instead of just Excel, it's on the last page under requirements.
It's the middle of the bullets.
I would just say Microsoft products.
And I would spell out Microsoft.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Microsoft Office products and not just Excel.
I would assume that the Excel is for they need Excel in extrapolating and projecting out.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, I think that would be the finance part, but yeah.
yeah.
So that's another edit. So far, just 2 things.
Great job, Ellen.
Yeah, really good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Really good.
And we just have to insert the website information, but I figured.
And how long are we posting it for? Till filled? Or?
That's how I would suggest doing it. It's open until filled.
Okay.
Okay. Do I need to write that in here someplace? Or will that just?
That
Because I figured all we're gonna post is above this line.
Right.
Yeah, that can say open until filled.
Yeah.
Or when you put it on NHMA, they will
They
ask
ask
about
that,
that.
and you can.
Oh, indeed.
But do you want me to write in this position will remain open until filled? But do we have a deadline by which people need to apply, or we just leave that open?
No,
because
no.
it's-
Just open
Until filled.
Right,
Okay, so we could then fill it whenever we felt like it.
correct.
When we feel we have the appropriate
Right.
response and the appropriate individual or firm, then we have the flexibility then to put this in place. And we want to act quickly on this, so.
And I know that we don't have a policy for how we deal with letting other employees know, but is there a way we can, once it's posted, if there's other town employees that work part-time that might want to do it, give them an opportunity, because they may not know to look at the website or go to NHMA or something like that.
Well, I don't want to, on the fly, come up with a new policy.
Right.
Well, we could, first of all, the personnel manual says that we need to post it internally, so the website is the posting.
Yeah.
We could certainly send it to all the department heads.
Yeah, the website's not an internal post. That's an external website. That's not, that's, an internal would be like your town intranet. We don't really have one.
Right.
So other than like blasting it out to email, that would be posting it.
No, I
internally.
think department heads
Yeah.
would be the way to go, and let them communicate
Yeah.
that to their staff.
Yeah.
Send it out to them.
Yes.
And ask them to distribute it to
Yeah.
their staffs.
Yeah, I'll post it in their, the kitchen bulletin board.
Yeah.
We can put it on bulletin boards.
Yeah, so then that way,
the
other
library,
employees have an opportunity if
Right.
they're interested.
And the NHMA would post it there.
Yep.
Is there any need to go further than that? Internal website, and then internal and NHMA.
I think that's probably good for now. If
Okay.
we don't get any replies, then we'll know we have to go out.
Go up further, yep.
Okay. So I'll accept a motion to go ahead and post this immediately with the edits that we just made, which were on the first page that it's offered up to 40 hours a month, and that the position will be open until filled. A month.
A month.
And that under skills, instead of MS Excel, that would read Microsoft Office skills. Were there any other edits?
Well, there was just the two.
Yeah, three.
Three.
Okay. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ellie. Second by Lori. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? That's unanimous. Sarah? Susan, you'll put this in final form and post it. Okay.
Do you need me to put it in final form, or did I give you a copy you can, that you can fix? Okay. If you have any trouble with it, let me know, I'll get it to you.
And when you send it out, could you send it to all of us as well on the distribution? Okay, thanks. So any of us who might have contacts out there that we think might be interested in this, you know, if we have it, we can send it out as well for information purposes. Thanks again, Ellen, for doing that.
Thank you.
Okay. Review of budget and ARPA spreadsheets. Marissa has provided that to us. It's also in your packets. She provided a sheet in front of those items with some notes and discussion on it. Well, there's a lot of stuff here. How much do you want to discuss of it? Are there items that in particular that you want to talk about, or?
So all of these at the department head meeting in 2 weeks, will we go over this with the various departments? Because some of these departments are really high. Some of the lines. Because
Or should the liaisons?
I thought the liaison, but I kind of like the idea of the department head meeting, only because Marissa will also be there.
Yeah.
And
So
then
she'll
that
then
way,
get the information
Yeah.
too about,
because then they could, because some of it, you know, she's saying like, some of the highway stuff for the cold patch and things like that, you know, we might have expended, maybe it's normal that you expend most of the budget in the beginning of the year, and at the end of the year, there's nothing left, but we can't answer that. So I think the department heads can speak to all of those like little things, right? Because reading some of this, I'm like, eee, but it might not, it might not be as bad.
So that's a good suggestion. Would the board be comfortable if we send this packet that was provided to us out to the department heads?
Oh my God, yes.
And with a note indicating that we're going to be discussing it
Yeah.
at the department head meeting at the end of the month?
that's only fair.
Where should we be now? At 50%? We're heading in not even 50%.
End of June would be 50%.
So so the end of June, so anything that's like 55% and over, be prepared to kind of have, you know, talk to.
Well, and some of those things Marissa has highlighted.
Yeah. No, I understand that, but I'm saying for that, yeah, for them to be able to.
Right.
Because hopefully they're gonna be like, oh, that's normal.
Well, and I'm sure that if for a lot of these things, you know, there's an explanation like you were saying